Welcome back to my channel Coins Most Valuable. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Kennedy half-dollar coins, some of the most collectible and valuable coins in United States history. These half-dollars are not just ordinary coins you might find in change. Many Kennedy half-dollars can be worth far more than 50 cents, and collectors everywhere are searching for the rare dates and valuable varieties. That's why you need to watch this video until the very end, because I will explain why Kennedy half-dollar coins are so valuable, what makes certain years special, and how these coins can be worth serious money. If you love rare coins, coin collecting, or just want to know the real value of the Kennedy half-dollar, you are in the right place. Stay tuned, because these coins are truly valuable, and you don't want to miss a single detail. First up, the most valuable 1979 Kennedy half-dollar coin, with no mint mark. The 1979 Kennedy half-dollar coin, without a mint mark, is one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in modern American coinage. When we talk about the Kennedy half-dollar, we are talking about a coin that carries historical importance, collector interest, and hidden value that not everyone knows about. The 1979 Kennedy half-dollar, without a mint mark, is especially interesting because of its place in the late 1970s era of coin production, its silver history, and the fact that no mint mark often makes collectors pay closer attention. That is why in this video I want you to stay with me all the way through, because we're going to explore why this 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is valuable, what makes it stand out, and what you should know if you happen to own one. Many people overlook these coins, but collectors know that certain details can make this half-dollar worth more than its face value. The Kennedy half-dollar series was first struck in 1964, created to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in 1963. From the very beginning, these coins became more than just money. They became symbols of American history, pride, and remembrance. In the first year, 1964, Kennedy half-dollars were struck in 90% silver, and those silver issues are highly prized today. From 1965 to 1970, the U.S. Mint reduced the silver content to 40%, and then from 1971 onward, Kennedy half-dollars were made in copper-nickel clad for circulation. That means the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar, without a mint mark, is part of that copper-nickel clad era. But it still holds interest because every detail of the series attracts collectors who understand rarity and value. Now, you may be wondering what it means when a coin does not have a mint mark. In the case of the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar, if you see no mint mark on the coin, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. At that time, Philadelphia minted coins often did not carry a mint mark, which is why you see the absence of a letter. Collectors often want to know whether this affects value, and the answer is yes, because the mint mark or the lack of one tells you where the coin was struck. And in some years the Philadelphia issues are scarcer or more desirable. For 1979, the no mint mark Kennedy half-dollar is worth holding on to, especially if it has been preserved in excellent condition. Condition, or what collectors call grade, plays a huge role in value. Most 1979 Kennedy half-dollar coins, without a mint mark, will only be worth face value if they have been used heavily in circulation. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, with bright luster and little to no wear, then the value can climb. In fact, many collectors pay premiums for uncirculated 1979 Kennedy half-dollars without a mint mark because they are harder to find today. Even more, if you discover a coin with a special strike quality, such as proof-like surfaces or a strong strike, it could be worth even more. That is why you should never overlook a 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark. It can be valuable depending on condition. Another reason this coin attracts attention is because of errors and varieties. Error coins are highly collectible, and the Kennedy half-dollar series has seen many over the years. Some examples include double dies, off-center strikes, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. A 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark that also carries a noticeable minting error can be extremely valuable. Collectors will often pay large sums of money for a rare error coin, and that is why it is so important to check every detail of your half-dollar carefully. Even a small difference, like an extra line in the design or an unusual mark from the minting process, could turn your ordinary-looking coin into a valuable rarity. Now let's think about the historical context. In 1979, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins for circulation, and the Kennedy half-dollar was still being made in large quantities. However, half-dollars were not circulating as much as other denominations because people tended to save them or banks did not order them frequently. That means fewer Kennedy half-dollars actually ended up in everyday use, and many of them stayed in storage or were collected right away. The 1979 no-mint-mark Kennedy half-dollar represents a period when these coins were still produced in large numbers, but not as many survived in pristine condition. That scarcity of high-grade examples is one reason collectors value them today. Another factor that adds to the interest is the design itself. On the obverse, or front of the coin, we see the profile of President John F. Kennedy, a design created by Gilroy Roberts. On the reverse, or back of the coin, there's the presidential seal with the eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, designed by Frank Gasparo. This classic design has been used for decades and is instantly recognizable. Collectors appreciate not only the history behind the coin but also the artistry, and the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar, without a mint mark, continues that tradition. The detail in the design, especially on well-struck coins, makes them visually appealing as well as historically significant. Let's also discuss the difference between circulation strikes and proof strikes. In 1979, the Philadelphia Mint produced circulation strikes without a mint mark, while proofs were made primarily at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark. That means if your 1979 Kennedy half-dollar has no mint mark, it is from Philadelphia and is a circulation strike. These coins were meant to be used in everyday commerce, but again, many ended up being saved. Proofs are separately collectible, but the Philadelphia no-mint mark circulation coins are the ones that often surprise people with their value when found in pristine condition. When it comes to value, most circulated 1979 Kennedy half-dollars, without a mint mark, may only be worth face value, 50 cents, but that is not the full story. In higher grades, especially mint state condition, the value can increase to several dollars, and for truly exceptional examples, the value can go even higher. The key is that collectors are willing to pay premiums for quality and for rarity. If you happen to own one of these coins in beautiful condition, it can definitely be more valuable than you might expect. And if your coin has an error or unique feature, its value can be even greater. This is why you should always check your change, look at your collections, and examine any Kennedy half-dollar coins you have, especially the 1979 no-mint mark version. Many people think modern coins are not valuable, but the truth is that even a 1979 Kennedy half-dollar can surprise you. Collectors love these coins, they carry history, and they can be worth more than face value, especially in the right condition. So, as we go through this, remember the most important point. The 1979 Kennedy half-dollar coin without a mint mark is valuable. It may not always look like much at first, but with the right eye for condition, the possibility of errors, and the understanding of collector demand, you could be holding onto a coin that is real worth. That is why it's so important to stay informed, keep learning, and never overlook coins like the 1979 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark. Next up, the legendary 1982 Kennedy half-dollar coin with D mint mark. The 1982 Kennedy half-dollar coin with the D mint mark is one of the most interesting and valuable coins from the modern era of American coinage. In this video, we will be focusing only on the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar with the Denver D mint mark, and we will go into full detail about why this coin is important, why collectors search for it, and why it is more valuable than most people realize. That is why I want you to stay with me and watch carefully all the way until the very end, because every detail about this coin matters. The 1982 Kennedy half-dollar with the D mint mark may look like an ordinary half-dollar, but in reality it is a piece of history, and it carries collector value, rarity, and demand that makes it worth more than its 50-cent face value. Let's begin with the background of the Kennedy half-dollar series. This coin was first struck in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in 1963. Right away, the Kennedy half-dollar became one of the most popular coins in American history, and it has been struck every year since 1964. At first, these coins were made in 90% silver, then reduced to 40% silver from 1965 through 1970, and after that they were struck in copper-nickel clad, which is what we see for the 1982 Kennedy half dollar. Even though the 1982 D Kennedy half dollar is copper-nickel clad, collectors still value it highly, especially when preserved in good condition, and certain factors make the 1982 coins stand out even more. The year 1982 is important because this was a time when the United States Mint was still producing half dollars in large quantities, but circulation demand for half dollars had fallen. Many banks no longer ordered half dollars, and fewer of them were used in everyday commerce. That meant that large numbers of Kennedy half dollars, including the 1982 D, were stored, saved, or collected. However, because these coins were not issued as collector-proof sets from Denver that year, the D mintmark Kennedy half dollar is only available as a circulation strike. That is why finding one in pristine condition is much harder and much more valuable. Now let's focus on the mintmark itself. The D mintmark stands for the Denver Mint. On the 1982 Kennedy half dollar coin, you will see the D located just below Kennedy's portrait on the obverse side of the coin, above the date. This small letter indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. For collectors, the mint mark is crucial because it tells you where the coin was made, and certain mint marks can be scarcer than others. The 1982 D Kennedy half dollar is one that collectors pay special attention to, especially because it was not included in mint sets that year, meaning high-grade examples are much harder to come by. That scarcity translates into value. Condition, or grade, is the most important factor when it comes to value. Most 1982 D Kennedy half dollar coins that you find in circulation today will show wear and will only be worth their face value of 50 cents. However, if you find one that is in uncirculated condition, meaning it still has its original mint luster and no signs of circulation wear, then you are looking at a much more valuable coin. In high mint state grades, the 1982 D Kennedy half dollar can be worth several dollars, and truly exceptional coins with superb luster and sharp detail can be worth even more. This is why you should always check your coins carefully, because a 1982 Kennedy half dollar with the D mint mark in the right condition can be worth much more than people expect. Errors and varieties are another important aspect that makes the 1982 D Kennedy half dollar valuable. Error coins are those that were struck with mistakes during the minting process, and collectors love them because they are rare and unique. Some possible errors include double die obverse or reverses, off-center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. Any 1982 Kennedy half dollar with a D mint mark that shows a noticeable minting error could be extremely valuable, far more than the regular example. Collectors will pay strong premiums for errors because they add rarity and uniqueness to the coin. That means if you have a 1982 D Kennedy half dollar, you should examine it closely for signs of doubling, unusual shapes, or anything out of the ordinary, because that could make your coin much more valuable. Now let's talk about the design itself, which adds to the coin's historical importance. On the obverse, you have the portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. On the reverse, you see the presidential seal designed by Frank Gasparo, featuring the eagle with the shield, arrows, and olive branch. This classic design has been used for decades, and it is instantly recognizable. Collectors appreciate the artistry and symbolism, and that makes every Kennedy half dollar, including the 1982 D, an important collectible coin. The combination of design, history, and scarcity of high-grade examples makes the 1982 Denver issue one of the more valuable modern half dollars. The absence of collector sets in 1982 is really what sets this coin apart. In many other years, the U.S. Mint produced uncirculated sets and proof sets, which gave collectors access to pristine examples directly from the mint. But in 1982, the U.S. Mint did not produce traditional mint sets, which meant the only way to get a 1982 D Kennedy half dollar was to pull it from circulation. Because of this, very few examples survived in high mint state condition, and that makes them scarcer and more valuable today. Collectors know this, and that is why they place such importance on finding nice examples of the 1982 Kennedy half dollar with the D mint mark. When we look at the value, circulated examples may only bring face value, but in higher grades, the value increases. In mint state 60 to mint state 65, the value rises to several dollars, and in gem quality grades, the coin can be worth significantly more. The combination of lower availability in top condition and strong collector demand keeps prices higher for these coins. That is why if you come across a 1982 D Kennedy half dollar, you should not ignore it, because it may be worth more than you think. Collectors also enjoy building complete sets of Kennedy half dollars, and the 1982 issues are essential pieces of the puzzle. Without a 1982 D mintmark coin, no Kennedy half dollar collection is complete. This keeps demand strong for the coin, especially in higher grades. The fact that no mint sets were issued in 1982 ensures that top-quality examples are scarce, and that adds another layer of value for collectors. So when you are checking your change, going through old coin jars, or looking through a family collection, pay close attention to Kennedy half dollars. And if you see the date 1982 with the D mint mark, make sure you hold on to it. While many people might dismiss it as just another 50-cent coin, collectors know the truth. The 1982 Kennedy half dollar coin with the D mint mark is valuable. Whether it is because of its condition, its scarcity, or the possibility of errors, this coin deserves your attention. Remember, the Kennedy half dollar series has always been popular with collectors, and certain years stand out for their importance. The 1982 Denver issue is one of those years. Even though it is not silver, it is valuable because of its scarcity in higher grades, its history, and its demand among collectors. That is why it is so important to know about coins like this, because you never know what you might have. So the next time you come across a Kennedy half dollar, check the date, check the mint mark, and if you find one from 1982 with a D, understand that you could be holding onto a valuable coin. The 1982 Kennedy half dollar coin with the D mint mark is more than just a piece of change. It is a collectible, a historical item, and for the right collector, it can be worth far more than its face value. Next up, the iconic 1980 Kennedy half dollar coin with P mint mark. The 1980 Kennedy half dollar coin with the P mint mark is one of the most interesting and valuable coins from the modern era of United States coinage. This coin is not just another 50-cent piece. The 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark holds collector value, historical importance, and hidden worth that many people do not realize. That is why it is so important that you stay with me and watch this video all the way until the very end, because every detail about this coin matters. If you happen to own a 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark, you could be holding onto something much more valuable than its face value. The Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in 1963. From the very first year, the Kennedy half dollar became one of the most collected and beloved coins in American history. In 1964, they were struck in 90% silver. From 1965 through 1970, they contained 40% silver. Beginning in 1971, the series switched to copper-nickel clad for circulation, and that is the composition of the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark. Even though the 1980 Kennedy half dollar is not silver, it still has value because of its place in the series, its mint mark, and the condition in which it is found. The P mint mark is very important for collectors. Before 1980, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint usually did not have a mint mark. The year 1980 was actually the very first year that the Philadelphia Mint began using the P mint mark on coins, like the Kennedy half dollar. That makes the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark historically significant. For collectors, first-year issues are always special, and because this is the very first Kennedy half dollar to carry a P mint mark, it is even more valuable to those who build complete sets of Kennedy half dollars. The P mint mark on the 1980 Kennedy half dollar is located on the obverse side of the coin, just above the date and near Kennedy's portrait. This small letter tells you that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. While the coin may look ordinary to someone who does not know much about coins, collectors instantly recognize the importance of that P mint mark, especially because it was the very first year Philadelphia began placing it on Kennedy half dollars. That fact alone makes the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with a P mint mark valuable and worth saving. condition, or grade is one of the most important factors in determining the value of the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark. Circulated coins, the ones that were used in everyday transactions, may only be worth face value if they are worn. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, with bright original mint luster and no signs of wear, then its value increases. Collectors always pay more for coins in higher grades, and since not many of the 1980 P Kennedy half dollars survived in pristine condition, these uncirculated examples are much more valuable. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Error coins are another factor that can make the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark even more valuable. Errors occur during the minting process, and collectors love them because they are rare and unique. Some errors include double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. A 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark that also carries an error can be extremely valuable, sometimes worth many times more than the regular example. This is why you should always check your coins carefully, because an error on this coin can increase its value dramatically. Now let's talk about the design of the coin, which adds to its importance. The obverse features the portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, while the reverse shows the presidential seal with the eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design is one of the most recognizable in American coinage, and it carries deep symbolism. Collectors are drawn to the Kennedy half dollar not only for its historical meaning, but also for the beauty of its design, which makes every piece, including the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark, valuable to own. In 1980, half dollars were not used heavily in circulation. Many banks did not order them, and fewer people used them in everyday transactions. That means a lot of the Kennedy half dollars from that time were saved. But over the years, many have been lost, damaged, or worn down. This makes finding a 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark in excellent condition even more valuable today. Scarcity of high-grade examples adds to collector demand and pushes the value higher. It is also important to note that collectors who build complete sets of Kennedy half dollars cannot skip the 1980 issue. Because 1980 is the first year of the P mint mark on these coins, the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P is an essential piece of the series. Without it, a Kennedy half dollar collection is incomplete. That strong collector demand ensures that this coin will always carry value. When we talk about value, circulated 1980 Kennedy half dollars with the P mint mark may only be worth 50 cents, but in higher grades, the value increases significantly. In mint state condition, the value climbs to several dollars, and in gem quality condition, the value can rise even higher. If your coin also carries an error, then the value could be much greater. That is why it is so important to check every 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark, because you never know just how valuable your coin might be. So if you ever come across a Kennedy half dollar, always look at the date and the mint mark. And if you see the year 1980 with the P mint mark, set that coin aside. It is not just a 50-cent piece. It is a collectible. It is a first-year Philadelphia mint mark issue, and it is a coin that carries value to collectors today. Collectors and coin enthusiasts know that the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark is valuable. It may not contain silver like the earliest issues, but its historical importance, its mint mark significance, and its collector demand make it a coin worth far more than face value in the right condition. Whether it is because of its place in history, its preservation, or the possibility of minting errors, this coin is one that should never be ignored. The 1980 Kennedy half dollar coin with the P mint mark is valuable. It is a coin that represents the history of American coinage, the importance of mint marks, and the lasting legacy of President John F. Kennedy. So always remember to look closely at your coins, because the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark could be worth more than you think, and it remains a valuable and collectible coin to this day. Now, we'll explore the super rare 1981 Kennedy half dollar coin with P mint mark. The 1981 Kennedy half dollar coin with the P mint mark is one of the most overlooked yet valuable coins from modern American coinage. This coin may appear to be just another half dollar at first glance, but the truth is that the 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P Mint mark carries collector interest, historical importance, and value that makes it worth paying close attention to. That is why I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because every detail matters when it comes to understanding why this coin is valuable. If you have a 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark, you may already be holding something that is worth more than face value. The Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964, created to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in 1963. From its very first year, the Kennedy half dollar was one of the most collected coins in American history. The earliest issues in 1964 were struck in 90% silver. From 1965 through 1970, the coins were made with 40% silver. Starting in 1971 and continuing through 1981, the Kennedy half dollar for circulation was struck in copper-nickel clad. That is the composition of the 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark. Even without silver, collectors find these coins valuable because of their mint mark, their condition, their place in the series, and their demand among coin enthusiasts. The P mint mark is very important. Beginning in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint started adding the P mint mark to coins like the Kennedy half dollar. That means that the 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark is only the second year that this mint mark was used on the half dollar. Collectors know how significant first and early issues are, which makes the 1981 P Kennedy half dollar more valuable. The P mint mark can be seen on the obverse of the coin, just above the date, and that small detail is what tells you the coin was struck in Philadelphia. For collectors building full sets of Kennedy half dollars, the 1981 P issue is essential, and because of that demand, this coin carries real value. Condition, or grade, plays a huge role in determining the value of the 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark. Circulated coins that show wear from everyday use are usually only worth their face value. However, uncirculated examples that still show their original mint luster, sharp details, and no wear are much more valuable. Collectors pay premiums for coins in high mint state condition, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark in gem condition can be worth several times more than face value, and truly exceptional examples are prized by collectors. That is why you should always check the quality of your 1981 P Kennedy half dollar, because condition is what can make this coin valuable. Another factor that makes the 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark valuable is the possibility of minting errors. Error coins are coins that were struck incorrectly, and collectors love them because they are unique and rare. Some of the most popular errors include double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. If you have a 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark that shows a noticeable error, it can be worth far more than a regular example. Collectors will pay high prices for errors, and that adds another layer of potential value to this coin. The design of the Kennedy half dollar is another reason collectors value it so much. On the obverse, we see the portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, and on the reverse, we see the presidential seal with the eagle, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design has been used for decades and is instantly recognizable. The 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark continues this classic design, and collectors appreciate both the history and the artistry of the coin. This combination of history, symbolism, and beauty makes every Kennedy half dollar collectible, and the 1981 issue is no exception. The historical context also matters. By 1981, half dollars were not widely used in everyday circulation. Many banks did not request them, and fewer people handled them in transactions. That meant many Kennedy half dollars, including the 1981 P mint mark coin, were set aside, saved, or stored. However, over the years, many have been worn, lost, or damaged, making it harder to find nice examples today. That scarcity of high-quality coins adds to their value, because collectors are always searching for well-preserved examples. For collectors who build complete sets of Kennedy half dollars, the 1981 P coin is necessary. Every year and every mint mark must be included in order to complete the set, and that drives demand for the 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark. This strong collector demand ensures that the coin will always carry value. Even though it does not contain silver, its role in the series, and its mint mark, make it a key part of the collection. When it comes to actual value, most circulated 1981 Kennedy half dollars, with the P mint mark, may only be worth 50 cents. But in higher grades, the value increases. Uncirculated examples in mint state grades can be worth several dollars, and in gem grades, the value can be even higher. If your coin also happens to be an error coin, then the value could rise dramatically. That is why it is important to look closely at every 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark, because you never know just how valuable your coin might be. So, whenever you are going through your change, a coin collection, or a family coin jar, pay special attention to Kennedy half dollars. Look for the year 1981 and check for the P mint mark. If you find one, do not dismiss it as just a common coin. The 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark is valuable, and collectors know its importance. This coin represents more than just money. It represents the history of President John F. Kennedy, the development of U.S. mint practices, and the growing importance of mint marks in the modern era. The 1981 Kennedy half dollar with the P mint mark is a valuable collectible, and it is one you should never overlook. Whether it is because of its condition, its mint mark significance, or the possibility of errors, this coin deserves attention and respect in any collection. The most important point to remember is this: the 1981 Kennedy half dollar coin with the P mint mark is valuable. It may not contain silver, but it carries history, collector demand, and potential value that makes it worth far more than face value in the right condition. If you own one, keep it safe, and if you find one, hold on to it, because this coin is more than just a piece of change. It is a collectible with real value and historical importance. Now, I'll tell you that which Kennedy half dollar coin was sold for $5.9 million. Yes, you heard right. It's $5.9 million. It was the most valuable and rare 1964 Kennedy half dollar coin. The 1964 Kennedy half dollar is one of the most famous and valuable coins in U.S. history. This coin was first minted in honor of President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination, making it instantly historic and collectible. While millions of Kennedy half dollars were made in 1964, a very small number of rare special mint set examples, known as SMS coins, were struck with an unusual satin-like finish and sharp details. These special 1964 Kennedy half dollars are so rare that fewer than a dozen are believed to exist today. One of them, graded in near-perfect condition, has been reported as the $5.9 million Kennedy half dollar, making it one of the most expensive coins ever associated with U.S. currency. Collectors prize this coin not only for its silver content, but also for its rarity, historical importance, and legendary status in numismatics. As you stayed with me until the very end, now you understand why Kennedy half dollar coins are so valuable and why collectors all over the world search for them. Whether it is the 1964 silver Kennedy half dollar, the 1970s and 1980s copper-nickel issues, or coins with rare mint marks and minting errors, every Kennedy half dollar has the potential to be worth more than face value. These coins carry history, collector demand, and real value that should never be ignored. So always check your Kennedy half dollars carefully. Look for the year, look for the mint mark, and remember that these coins can be treasures hiding right in your pocket or coin jar. The Kennedy half dollar is one of the most collected coins in American history, and whether it's a silver issue, a no mint mark example, or a rare P or D mint mark coin, each of them is valuable and worth holding on to.